Hey Pink, this is another response to you. You're only the second person to respond back after I've responded back. The first one was H.H. Fleury. But anyway, I like this. This is good. So let's jump right into it. The first point you made was that the reason an unattractive white chick thinks she can go up to an attractive black chick and bag them was not because of the racial hierarchy, but because that's what they see black men doing. Well, the first question I have to then ask is, why are black men doing that? But I'll get to that in a moment. Also, in my video, I believed I mentioned white women being fat and or ugly. So that begs two more questions. Do black men like fat women? And do black men like ugly women? Now, we all know there's a stereotype of black men getting with fat white women. And you explain that away by saying that black men have a wider range of what's acceptable when it comes to weight. That is true, but I still do not think that black men like fat women. There's a difference between willing to accept and actually liking. Yes, there are a lot of black men out there willing to accept Jennifer Hudson. She's thick and she's got big tits, but she's still got a shape to her. She goes in at the waist and back out at the hips. She's overweight, but not obese. There are a lot of black men out there, I'm not going to say most or half because I don't know how many, but there are a lot of black men out there who are perfectly fine with Jennifer Hudson. But if they had a choice between a body like this and a body like that, most are going to take a body like that. I think that most black men's ideal woman would be a thin woman with a big butt, like a Beyonce, or even a J-Lo, or a Mary J. Blige. She got some butt on her. Now, I acknowledge that there are men out there, black, white, whatever, who like thicker women. That is their preference, and they would not want a skinnier woman if they could get one. But when speaking of the majority of men, regardless of race, they prefer thin over thick and thick over fat. Now, why do I believe that black men do not prefer thick women? And again, I consider thick to be someone like Jennifer Hudson. And I consider someone like Monique, at least in this picture, to be fat. But anyway, back to my question. Why do I think that black men do not prefer thick women? Because when you look at black men who have high stock, whether they're celebrities, lawyers, doctors, or whatever, they don't go for these thick women. They might like a thin woman with a fat ass, but they don't want a fat woman or even a thick woman. Look at the type of women that celebrity black men get. I'm not saying you can't find a single instance of a celebrity black man with a fat or thick woman, but what's the norm? The same thing goes for ugly women. Yes, you'll see black men out there with ugly women, whether they're black or white or whatever, but when they get money, when they become celebrities, do you see them with ugly women? Not really. And again, I'm not saying never ever, but in general, they're going to have a beautiful, thin woman. Black men in general do not like fat women, and no type of man likes ugly women, but some black men are willing to accept it. This takes me back to the first question I asked at the beginning of this video. You said that it had nothing to do with racial hierarchy. You said that fat/ugly or both white women think they can get a good-looking black man because that's what they see black men doing. And why are black men doing this? Why are they accepting of women that other races are not? And why are they accepting of women that they would not be accepting of if they had higher stock? As in more money, more power, more status. That's a symptom of being on the bottom. Accepting anything and everything, or accepting things other people don't want, or accepting things that you wouldn't accept if you were in a better position. That's a symptom of being on the bottom. Now you might be saying, well, anybody's going to choose better if they got better choices. That's true, but that's where standards come in. You might have a wide range of what you find acceptable, but standards won't let you take just anything. Standards say, okay, I'll take a 60, but I'm not taking a 20. So what you're defining as having a wider range of acceptance is actually just having lower standards. Because like I said, celebrity black men, doctors, lawyers, they don't go for fat, ugly women. Now here's where the racial hierarchy comes into things. There are fat women in all races. And there are men in every race who marry fat women. It is not as common to see a white man walking around with a non-white woman who is fat. Unless he's fat himself. It is rare that you see an Asian man walking around with a non-Asian woman who is fat. But it is common to see a Mexican man walking around with a white woman who is fat, and it is common to see a black man walking around with a non-black woman who is fat. And please don't feed me that, well, we like thicker women line, because no, you don't. Because if it was really about being more willing to accept more body types, then you would still accept more body types when you get rich or when you get high status. A white man very well may marry a fat woman, but chances are it's going to be a fat white woman. An Asian man may marry a fat chick, but she's probably going to be Asian. If she happens not to be Asian, she'll probably be white. The chances are slim that she'll be black or Latino. A Latino, and by that I mean not black and not white. They'll marry either another Latino or a white, not black. And finally, if a black man marries a white chick, she might be black, she might be white, she might be Asian, she might be Latina. Now, the examples I just gave are just examples of what's most likely to happen. That doesn't mean it'd be impossible to find a Latino dude married to a fat black chick. I saw such a couple in Walmart about a month ago. But that's not the norm. So you gotta ask yourself, why are black men willing to step outside their race for anything, whereas men of other races have their specific preference when they step outside their race? For example, an Asian, they'll step outside their race with a white, and that's about it. Again, this does not mean you cannot find examples of Asian men with Latinas or even black women. But in general, Asian men only want Asian or white. When it comes to white men, they step outside their race most with Asian women. You don't see them with as many different types of women as you do black men. Same thing with Latino men. When they step outside the race, it's probably going to be with a white person. You don't see them with as wide a variety of women as you do black men. Now I know some of you black guys are just itching at the bit to say, well, that's because black women have attitudes and they have this and that and whatever. Okay, I'm not talking about the reasons that people date out. I mean, once they date out, what are they willing to accept? What men are willing to accept is consistent with the racial hierarchy. White on top, then Asian, then Latino, then black. Men are willing to accept anything equal to them on the hierarchy or up. Usually, the only reason a man is willing to go lower than him on the racial hierarchy is if he has a specific attraction to a race that's lower on the hierarchy. Now, since white men are at the top of the racial hierarchy, they can't really go up, but a lot of times people consider Asians to be kind of like honorary whites. Asians really have more in common with whites than they do other minorities. But anyway, moving on, black men, you see them with a wide variety of different types of women. Let's put it to the celebrity test. When black men become celebrities or they get money or become doctors or lawyers, you still see them with a variety of different types of women. So that appears to be a true preference of black men because they date a variety of different types of women whether they've got money or not. They do not date fat, ugly women if they have money. Also, I'll add that it would be different if black men stepped out and they just wanted white women like Asian men or like most of Latino men. But black men like all races. Let's look at other non-white men when they get famous. Do they go for all types of women? No, they go for a white woman. Or, of course, someone of their own race. How do you explain this? Racial hierarchy. Those on the bottom are willing to accept more than those on the top. Now, here's another example that black men themselves have brought up. When a non-black man chooses a black woman, usually she's going to be one of the more attractive ones. Yes, you can find some white men who have some ugly black women, but the stereotype is that when they decide they want a black woman, they grab one of the cream of the croppers. This stereotype does not exist for black men. In fact, it's the other way around. The stereotype is that black men will grab onto any piece of non-black ass and be happy for it. There is a stereotype of black men getting with ugly non-black women. Or in other words, women that men of their own race did not want. White men do not get the black women that black men don't want. Unless she's an Alec-Weck looking type of chick, then black men don't want her. But then again, it's not like Alec-Weck is fat or something. She's still thin and got a nice body. If she was fat, she probably wouldn't be with a white man. She wouldn't be a model. But anyway, Pink, the only way to get around what I just said is to either argue that black men like ugly women, or that they're more accepting because of the racial hierarchy. Now, women are a bit different. A woman will choose the best man that she can get who likes her in return. This is evident in the video clip that I showed in my White Women Interracial Gold Diggers video. In general, a white woman wants a white man, but she will consider a Latino man if he makes a certain amount of money more than a white man. She will also consider a black man, but he has to make more money than a white man and a Latino man. If there was no racial hierarchy, why is that? So to answer your question, why would a white woman date a black man if she thinks she's better than black men? Well, for one, women want love. So if they can't get love from men of their own race, they'll go to where they can get love. Second of all, there's an opportunity to upgrade. Get a white man who makes $50,000 a year, or get a black man who makes $100,000 a year. As we already know, women are willing to forgive looks and race if the man's got that money. Or if she's a so-so looking white chick, she can either get a so-so looking white man or she can get a fine black man. And that's the way the racial hierarchy works. It's the same reason why American men who may be fat, ugly, overweight, old, whatever, and therefore cannot pull a beautiful young woman in this country, they will go to another country where their stock is higher, and they can have their pick of the women. White women, no, scratch that. Non-black women in general believe that they can have their pick of black men. Whether that's actually true or not doesn't matter because they believe it.